Manchester City streets turned into a catwalk last night as the French luxury brand Chanel held a prestigious fashion event there.
Yeah, it's been shrouded in secrecy in the run-up. Parts of the city closed off for weeks in advance. The fashion house said it chose Manchester because of its pop culture and textile history.
There was a lot put into that. You know, there was a temporary roof, a temporary glass roof put over the street so that the celebs who were there, there were lots of people over from the States and everything, didn't get wet.
Just as well because it was tipping down last night.
Was it?
They would have got properly wet. Hundreds of Oxfam staff in the UK will go on strike today for the first time in the charity's 81-year history. Last-ditch talks between Oxfam and the Unite Union failed to produce an agreement to avoid industrial action. About 200 shops will be affected. And rail passengers in London were left stuck on trains for hours without power last night after damage to overhead cables blocked routes to and from Paddington Station. Trains on the Elizabeth Line, Great Western Railway and the Heathrow Express all brought to a standstill. Network Rail has warned of major disruption until lunchtime.
Police are appealing for information after an explosive device was used to destroy a ULEZ camera in southeast London. Emergency services were called to the scene at Wellesley Avenue in Sidcup on Wednesday evening. Nobody was injured, but shrapnel did damage a number of nearby buildings and vehicles.
Unfortunately, it appears that somebody's used an explosive device on one of the ULEZ cameras. The area affected by the explosion is more than 100 metres. But for the grace of God, somebody could have been injured or worse, as it is. A couple of vehicles have been damaged, a couple of windows have been smashed, and I'd encourage anybody with any information about who planted the explosive to contact the police.
An official list from the Department for Education has revealed another 10 schools and colleges in the capital have potentially unsafe concrete. It takes the total number of buildings to 29. All pupils, though, are able to maintain face-to-face education. Now, as the Christmas season is fast approaching, you may be off to see a show. Well, a new production of The Nutcracker is on at the Tough Nut Jazz Club at the South Bank Centre, but it's not The Nutcracker as you know it. Clara has been replaced with Clive, and rather than classical music, this production has a live jazz band.
I think Nutcracker for every young person around Christmas time is a huge part of their Christmas tradition. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to create a Nutcracker that I didn't feel like I'd seen before. And it was a Nutcracker that felt like it was accepting and that it was a place for lots of alternative people to feel like they belong and that actually Nutcracker might belong to them.
Let's have a look through some of the papers for you this morning. It's Friday morning. Let's see what the Times has. Reporting that lawyers have warned Rishi Sunak the Rwanda scheme would be seriously impeded from working because it provides an easy way for migrants to avoid being deported. Sun saying junior staff were too scared of losing their jobs to speak out about former ITV presenter Philip Schofield's affair with a young showrunner. The paper also carries a piece on Rwanda headlined, "I'll finish job on the boats," and a picture of Rishi Sunak.
And that front page also covering ITV's latest report. There's a story about first-time buyers on the front page of The Telegraph, reporting that the so-called bank of mum and dad behind half of first-home purchases by buyers in their 20s, contributing loans or cash gifts.
And The Guardian celebrating the life of poet, actor and activist Benjamin Zephaniah, who died yesterday at the age of 65. Lots of tributes pouring in for the man who overcame dyslexia to become a titan of literature. He's credited with bringing Jamaican cub poetry to the UK. He sat with us quite a few times on the sofa, and he was genuinely inspiring and charming and humble as well.
He just brought a real energy to the sofa, didn't he? Our thoughts, of course, to his family and loved ones. Christmas is coming up. What do you think the most common injuries are at Christmas? Because, according to research, 21 million Britons have injured themselves during festive activities.
Falling off a ladder, decorating the tree. falling over.
Bang on. So 5% fall, 2.7 million fell off a chair, hanging up baubles or lights. 5%
burning themselves while cooking the dinner.
5% had hurt themselves lifting the tree. Yes, when it comes to the dinner, specifically hot oil when basting the turkey. 7% hurt themselves chopping vegetables. So these are things you need to be careful about. Experts are advising festive chefs to squat. So it's all about musculoskeletal injuries, right? I'll get there. So they're advising chefs to squat when taking things out of the oven. Because often it's a big bird that people are cooking because there's more family members coming round. So bend, take this on board, bend with your knees so your arms and leg muscles take the strain, OK? Because those are the strains that are being reported as well. Also, tripping over presents, lifting heavy gifts, falling out of the loft.
Well, clearly, if you've got one of those ovens that's built high into a kitchen cabinet, don't squat.
Yeah. Thanks. That's invaluable advice.
Well, you know, you've got to be careful, don't you?
18 minutes.
You've got to be careful, haven't you, Peter? You're always standing over there. Did you decorate this, by the way? Were you careful?
I can't bend in these trousers. No, that wasn't me. No, certainly not. I'm not tall enough for that tree.
Good.
What's dominating the front pages this morning, many, of course, focusing on the Prime Minister's Rwanda speech yesterday. Let's kick off with the Eye there, calling the Prime Minister wounded as he faces multiple rebellions from Conservative MPs considering voting against the Rwanda plan. The Times there says Rishi Sunak has been warned by top lawyers that the plan could provide an easy way for migrants to avoid deportation. And The Guardian, they're reporting that Mr Sunak is fighting to hold the Tories together as speculation mounts that he could face a challenge to his own position. Tories are imploding in the Mirror's the headline there, as you can see. Now, the Express there calling the Prime Minister defiant and focusing on his vow to finish the job on migration. Ousting the PM would be insanity. The Telegraph there carries the view of Tory party chair Richard Halden. In other news there, the Metro quoting the sister of head teacher Ruth Perry, who took her own life after an Ofsted report was highly critical of her school. Ms Perry's sister says the education inspection system is guilty of brutal inhumanity. The Culture Secretary Lisa Fraser says that it is morally indefensible to jail people who fail to pay their TV licence fee. That's an exclusive in the Mail. And the FT there understands that the Labour Party has taken on 10 well-known city figures to advise them on how to win the confidence of the financial sector if they return to power. And The Sun, they're reporting that some of this morning's staff were too scared of losing their jobs to speak out about former presenter Philip Schofield's affair with a showrunner. And The Star, they're reporting on an animal smuggler, that is, being caught with 2 otters in his underwear. Why? And if you want to see any of those front pages again or read the stories, just scan the QR code, which is on your screen right now.